Oh, here's one. Here's a piece of meat. Oh yeah. You guys, this is gonna be so good. So good. Hey, hi, I'm Amy Roloff, and I'm in my little kitchen. Oops, get my water bottle out of the way. Anyway, yes, my little kitchen. And I'm so excited because tonight we're kind of getting together some of the people that I originally started soup night with. And so they're all coming over tonight. So what I'm making for them is beef barley soup. I hemmed and hawed because it is March right now. I was thinking of one of the things that you can do with leftover corned beef and the leftover cabbage and potatoes and stuff like that, is to make cabbage, corned beef, or corned beef and cabbage and potatoes soup. So that'll be for, I don't know, maybe next time. But anyway, we're making barley soup. And this reminds me kind of like stew, but you're not adding like a roux or a thickening agent like flour when you dust the meat with flour and everything. So this will be a soup. And so anyway, let's get going. I did a lot of a prep work because this soup to me really needs to simmer and cook for an hour. And then you add the barley, and it needs to go for another hour. And I'm slowly but surely running out of time. So anyway, I think the biggest prep in all of this is the meat, depending on the kind of meat you choose for your beef barley soup. So let's get going and make beef barley soup tonight. So I have, I'm gonna go ahead and get my pan all heated up because I've got one container about 8 ounces, depending on how big or small they are. But I feel like I want a little bit more. So I really want to kind of, how should I say, kind of like, do not put salt on this because this absorbs the water and then the mushrooms become wet. And I really wanted a kind of rustic, roasted, sauteed kind of mushroom thing. And that's typically what I do in my beef stew as well. So we're gonna do the same here. So I've got one container of mushrooms quartered in here, and I'm gonna do a couple more because I don't think it's enough, because mushrooms will shrink down a lot. So I'm just gonna quarter these. Oops. So I don't know, you can do 2 containers of each, depending on if you really like mushrooms. But I think, I don't know, one more maybe. I think that'll be enough. Oh, I can hear my pan. It is getting hot. Okay, I think that's about enough. We'll see how far they cook down. But then I have about 3 carrots in here because I'm cooking a lot. I think a 2-pound chuck roast will be enough for 4 to 6 people, maybe. But I've got a lot of guys here. So I really have like 3.5 pounds. And I chose chuck roast, beef chuck roast. And so what I did with that was that I really trimmed out as much fat as I could because I did not want kind of like, how should I say, like a greasy beef barley soup. So I tried and cut off as much fat as I could. And so this is about 3 to 4 pounds of chuck roast because Chris likes meat. So I'm having a little bit more meat in this. I'm going to turn off my pan there. Put a little olive oil in there because I think it's beginning to smoke. We don't want that. In fact, if you can't see, I don't think you can, but I have no microwave and no hood fan for over my stovetop here, because I got a new hood. So that Chris is going to put that in there, and then we picked out some tile to go on the back of that, and I'm going to pick out a new stovetop because I need it. This one, it's got some issues. Anyway, let's get back to that. And then I have some rosemary and thyme because I thought that would be good. Definitely garlic. I have about 4 cloves of garlic here. I am going to add in a can of fire roasted diced tomatoes. Where's my other one? Well, oh, here it is. Anyway, and then I have, this is an 8-ounce can of tomato paste, but I'm only going to use half. I'm only going to put like maybe 4 ounces, so half of a can of tomato paste. So I'm thinking 4 ounces, 2 big scoops of tablespoon, so maybe 2 tablespoons. And what else do I, oh yeah, beef barley. So I have pearled barley, and I'm thinking, I read the package here, and I think it said an hour. I'm going to give it an hour and a half because you want it chewy, but you don't want it like crunchy, chewy type of thing. So I'm going to cook this at least an hour and a half. So beef barley soup, give yourself, you know, at least half hour or more to prep your food, cutting up the carrots, onions, your mushrooms, definitely your meat. And typically what I do with beef stew, I cut the big chuck roast or whatever I'm using in steak form and just sear it on both sides, and then I chunk it up. This one, I tried to sear it really, really quick. You don't want to cook the meat to death. You want the time, because chuck roast needs that moisture, that simmering, that time to kind of absorb the flavors, but also to get tender. So anyway, let's get going, because if not, I'm going to run out of time here. Let me cut up the rest of this carrot. I'm cutting them up in kind of big chunks, but I'm also, depending on what end of the carrot you're at, I'm going to quarter these as well, because, you know, look at how small this little bite is. You know, I don't want like a small piece of meat and you got this big chunky carrot, because it's not beef stew. It's beef barley soup. Oh yeah. It's going to need some time. Good flavor, but it will need a little time in the pot, I hope. I hope I can tenderize it, because I'm still chewing it. And then I'm going to use beef broth to go with this, and I'm undecided. I might even give it a little splash of red wine. So I got 4 carrots in here. Oh yeah, let's cut up our garlic. And then we're going to go over to the stove and cook up our mushrooms. I'm going to do that first, and then I can cook up the veggies. So I really am trying to mince these up a little bit. I think I should have got a bigger, this knife here. And I do have one. Oh yeah, because we're in March. In fact, I'm doing a live thing here. By the time you guys see this video, the live will be already done. But I'm going to make this really fun treat that you can do with your kids. I think I saw it online somewhere, and I wanted to give it a try, so I might have those shown on my live coming up in a week. And then I'm going to make Guinness chocolate cupcakes I'm hoping just with a little variations of a basic chocolate cupcake and a little bit of espresso, I think, a little Guinness with like, I think brown butter or a little bit of Irish cream in there for the frosting. So anyway, that's what I'm hoping to make next week. Okay, I think that's enough. I'm just gonna leave that here because we gotta get going on the mushrooms. Okay, let's get going. So I've got my pan really heated up. Look at that, did you hear that sizzle? And when I drizzle a little bit of red wine in here after I saute the onions and the mushrooms, or the onions and the carrots, the red wine will pick up some of this good bits and pieces stuck to your pan. So really, this is what it is. Quartered my mushrooms, and I'm just gonna try and brown them. So we're gonna let this sit for a minute, move them around, and see what happens. And like I said, if you add salt, that'll draw out the water or make the mushrooms, how should I say, too watery. Like they're cooking in their own juices and stuff. Where this, I wanted them more sauteed and browned and not just cooked. Okay. Hi, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you are enjoying it, and I would really appreciate it if you liked it and subscribed to it. And oh, don't forget to click that little bell up there, and you'll be notified of future videos that are new and coming on my YouTube channel. So thank you so much for that. And I would really appreciate it if you shared the video and let other people know and encourage them to subscribe and like the videos as well. So anyway, thank you, and back to the video. Okay, I think you can hear my mushrooms. I'm gonna bring you over here a little bit. You see how brown they're turning? This is what I want. And with a little splash of red wine, that will kind of pick up all this little bits here. So I think the mushrooms are done, and we're gonna get ready for the onions and carrots. Okay, we are going to, carrots and onions going in the pot. We're gonna saute these until they are, I don't know, just soft, maybe a little bit al dente, because these will be cooked in with the meat. I just want to get some flavor on that, and I do not want to add too much salt here because I already added, I salted the meat and salt and peppered the meat, and I want to make sure I don't have too much salt because we got those fire roasted tomatoes going in here. We've got beef broth, even though it is low sodium, going in here. And then we have a little bit of tomato paste going in here. So we are just going to just kind of take the raw taste out of this a little bit. See? We're sauteing up the carrots and onions. There you go. So yeah, I'm gonna just chop up some of this rosemary instead of just sticking it in there. I think by chopping it up, a lot more will be dispersed, and I do not want a lot, so I don't know, this might be a teaspoon of fresh, maybe a little bit more. And then if you'd like, you can even put 1 bay leaf in the beef barley soup, but I chose not to because I really kind of want to make this a little bit different than beef stew or something else you might make. So we're just going to do a little rosemary and a little bit of thyme. And I tell you, if you can ever grow your own herbs or buy them fresh, because I know they're expensive in the store, and that's why I don't have enough room in my backyard to do a full-fledged garden without it taking up half my yard. But and that's why I planted herbs, because those are the things I love the most to put in food is fresh herbs. Now my thyme here has dried up, but that's okay. I don't think I need to chop this up because it's pretty dry. And that's okay. These were fresh and then they just kind of dried out. So I'm definitely taking a couple of sprigs and just kind of run your finger down the stem and it all comes off. See? Voila! Except for the very end. The very end, you got to kind of pull it out. Well, obviously, I went ahead and chopped it up a little bit anyway. So I would say about 1.5 teaspoons for your rosemary, maybe 2. Why not go 2? And a couple of sprigs of thyme. I mean, if you did want it, I don't know, I was going to say some red pepper flakes, but I don't know, I just want a good, comforting, hearty soup. I don't think, but hey, if you guys like it a little tinge hot, add some red pepper flakes. Go ahead. Soup, you can make it into your own. Okay, let's head on over to the stove. There's my work area there. My little stool that I always have to get up on, and that is my carrots and onions. I'm gonna turn you off because it gets a little crazy when I reset this. Okay, we're gonna turn this back on. There we go. Oh yeah, this is good. Forgot to get my red wine. But we're gonna just dump in the herbs. Get them intermingled in here. And hopefully have enough. I tell you, sometimes to me you can overdo it on the herbs, and other times I underdo it. And I'm hoping this is one of those times that I did not put in not enough. Okay, we're gonna pour in our mushrooms. Get that intermingled with all of this. Oh yeah, this is looking so good, you guys. And then we're gonna pour in our fire roasted tomatoes. Oh, look at all that. See, there's some bits and pieces in here. I don't know, I grew up, my mom, she always scraped out the cans, making sure she got every little last bit. And so I just grew up with that, and that's what I do. Okay, we are going, and I think after an hour when you simmer your meat and cook your meat, taste the broth and see if you do need any more seasoning, salt, pepper, rosemary, thyme, or whatever it may be, and then that'll be the time to do it before the barley gets in there. I'm gonna do a couple of squigs of Worcestershire sauce. Oh yeah, oh you guys. This is looking so good. I think I'm gonna bring you over here. I mean, it smells delicious. It looks so good. So I'm gonna bring over the beef and we're gonna add in the broth. Okay, I brought over all the beef, but I'm gonna go ahead and, if I can, put in 4 cups of beef broth. Because one of these boxes, and I get low sodium beef broth. I mean, I'm trying to do all that I can so that I can manage the salt and not what I put in. Okay, that is about 4 cups. As I was going to say, each of those cartons has about 4 cups in it. But you also got to remember that when you put in your barley, that'll expand a little bit and soak up some of this broth too. So make sure you have more on hand. So we're just gonna kind of, well, I don't want it to splash all over the place. So I guess I should have put in the beef first, huh? Silly me. Okay, there we go. And normally I use a different pot for my soup, but I knew I was making a lot. Boy, this is gonna have a lot of meat in it. So I hope Chris is happy. In fact, I'm gonna show you it here in a minute. This pot, whoops, sorry. This pot is overloaded. So I'm gonna put in another container of beef broth. So that'll make it 8 cups. But this beef barley soup will all depend on how many people you are making it for. So adjust your quantities for meat, the carrots, the onions, and everything else. Well, look at how good and delicious this looks. I hope you guys can see it in there. Oh, I cannot wait. I am hoping the meat will be tender and taste well too, and just kind of be a little chewy, but kind of melt in your mouth at the same time. I have 1.5 cups of barley. I'm hoping I don't need 2 because I did add in a little more meat to this. So in fact, I know I told you to do this later, which, you know what, I think that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna go ahead and add in 1.5 cups of barley. These are pearl barley. And I think because they're a little bit smaller and maybe cook up easier. But I have about another 1.5 hours before everyone gets here. So I think I'm in time for these to really get soft and still remain chewy. I know it doesn't look like enough in the soup, but believe me, they will plump up. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna add another 1/2 cup because I can't stand it. We'll see if I regret this or not. Just a little bit more. Okay, this will make 2 cups of barley. Okay. And again, I still just have this on simmer. Just gonna stir this around. And at the very end, if you want some greenery in here, go ahead and you can put a little bit of kale, maybe spinach at the, well, kale, do that about 10 minutes before you're ready to serve. So the kale has a chance to cook and tenderize and not, you know, be that kind of stiff kale. Anyway, but I think all I'm gonna do here is add in some parsley at the very end, stir it around, and then make sure I have a little bit to just kind of garnish and sprinkle on top. So anyway, let's get the lid back on and get this barley cooking. I know this probably feels a little weird because look at all that. It looks so good. And I'm so glad I browned the mushrooms prior. Look at that, you can hardly see the barley. But believe me, they will plump up. Let's wait and see. Well, I was hoping I was gonna have enough time to actually make some rolls for this beef barley soup, but instead I am going to make biscuits. And I'm just tweaking this biscuit recipe up a little bit. I've been looking online, and there's some people that use milk and egg, cream of tartar. There's other recipes that do more flour, more butter, or baking soda and baking powder, or just baking powder. So there's different varieties. I think the key thing though to biscuits is very cold butter. It kind of when it starts cooking, it interacts with the baking powder and the flour and everything, and it helps it to poof. So let me get out my other butter here. So anyway, what I have in here, just really quick, because this is really going to be a short video. I might do a longer one later. But I have 4 cups of all-purpose flour, and make sure you scoop it in your measuring cup so you're not compacting and having more flour than you really need. I got my Tillamook butter. We're going local. And so I have unsalted butter, so I wanted to make sure I definitely put salt in here. I don't know, a half a teaspoon, maybe a teaspoon of salt. And then I have 2 tablespoons of baking powder, close to a teaspoon of cream of tartar, but I only, I think I put in maybe, I don't know, half a teaspoon maybe, a little more than a half a teaspoon. Just gonna kind of break, well, you know what? I don't want to do that because you want cold butter. The more my hands are on it, the more it is not cold anymore. Okay, I'm just gonna finish cutting this up and we'll get, or food processor would have been easier, but I started with this. So I have 2 sticks of cold butter. I went local, used Tillamook butter, but any butter that you want to use is fine. I used unsalted butter because that's what I had, so I did add salt to this. I added in 2 tablespoons of baking powder, about just a little over half a teaspoon of cream of tartar, a little bit of salt, and then I put a little lemon juice in here to create some buttermilk. I know the cream of tartar is already in there, so I probably didn't have to do this, but I did anyway. Because basically I had some lemon juice from a lemon that I needed to use up, so it was probably only half a teaspoon. Anyway, so I'm gonna crack the egg in the milk, kind of blend that up a little bit so that when I incorporate it in the dough, I won't have pieces of egg kind of by itself, but hopefully it'll be nicely blended in with the milk. And how much milk did I have? I think I had a couple and a half. So let's see if this works. I'm gonna make a little well in here. There we go. Like I said, this is a new recipe, and I'm standing on my stool right now because this bowl is high, and I didn't want like my arm higher than my shoulder. So I'm standing on a little stool. Okay, I plopped all the dough on this counter. I'm just gonna kind of knead it for a minute. Make sure I don't need any flour in the spot that I'm kneading it. Okay, I think that should be enough. You don't want to over knead it, so hopefully I didn't do that. Oh yeah, maybe I'll bring you over here. There's nothing like homemade biscuits. And I always think of the kind, oops, let me get a little more flour here. I always think of the kind from like Kentucky Fried, Chick-fil-A, all those places. Or your favorite restaurant. I always want those big, fluffy. Okay, I think that's about enough. We don't want to roll it too thin because we want to give it an opportunity to fluff. Okay, let me get my big baking sheet. Okay. Boy, where do I put this? We're just gonna put that right there. I know you guys probably can't see it. Gonna get my parchment paper, put it on my baking sheet. And then I've got my cookie cutter here. We're gonna go 1. 2. I should probably show you all the flakes of butter. You don't want them too close together because you want them to bake and hopefully get a little slightly crispy edge. And if they're too close together, I'm really hoping I can get 16. We'll see. Because there's 8 of us, you know. We may all want 2. Or maybe I'll just have 1 and give up mine for someone to have 3 of them. Because, I mean, come on. What's better than homemade biscuits? Okay, here we go. Can you see that? I don't want it to slide off the parchment. So there. And I would have to say, okay, how tall are they? I was hoping more like an inch, but anyway. They're probably half an inch. We'll see how big they get. I'll tell you, one of these days, I'm gonna take a culinary class, just because I want to. I want to see what I know, if it's really what I know, or see how much I do not know, but manage to get by. Okay, we're just gonna kind of put this together. Still want that butter going on here. Wipe off my rolling pin a little bit. Get a little flour on there. Okay, I think that's enough. Here, let me bring you over and see I don't know if you can see the specks of butter. Try not to get the shadow in there, but see all that? All those little specks of butter, it's what's gonna help you. Just gonna kind of pinch these together. But this is what's gonna help you create the steam and the rise, along with the flour and the baking powder. So hopefully, oh yeah, you guys didn't even see me rolling this. There we go. Sorry about that. These will take anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes till they're lightly brown. Oh. Do I even have enough room? I'm gonna try and make enough room. Maybe I can get 2 more out of this. You think? Oh yeah. And look at that, I still see the flecks of butter, so that is really good. Can I make 2? Did you see me roll that one? Apologize if I don't always have that thing on right. Okay, there we go. Okay, you know what? I think I'm gonna brush these right when they come out of the oven with a little bit of butter, and but I'm gonna check my little notes that I have on my pad first. Okay, sorry guys, I'm gonna move you up a little closer here. You may not be able to see me, but I'm gonna lightly brush the tops of the biscuits, and I'm hoping it'll give that nice brown color when they bake. I've got the oven going on at 450 degrees. And I do have a recipe for biscuits at amyroloffslittlekitchen.com. So go and check this one out. This is just a slight variation because I wanted to see, you know, what does egg do? Visually see it. And cream of tartar. I think I should have rolled out the dough to about a little more than a ½ inch. So these might not rise as much as I hope, but I think they're gonna do enough. Okay, there we go. Let's put these babies in the oven. I'm gonna go on my lower oven this time. There we go, woo! Okay, my soup is almost done. Just look at this, the barley is cooked, but I definitely need to put in a little more beef broth because I might have put a little too much barley in here. So this is a big stock pot that I have by All Clad, and this will make 12 cups of beef broth that are in here because I added in a little bit more meat. I have about 8 people coming here, and I just wanted, and since I did add a little more meat, I wanted definitely more barley. So hopefully this will be good. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Not bad. I'm gonna go ahead and add in definitely a couple of tablespoons of parsley, or at least 1/4 cup. And then I'm gonna cut up some fresh ones. These are fresh parsley that I did not use, I just left out, and so they dried up. I thought, perfect. They'll go in here. You guys, this looks really good. I'm kind of glad I made this soup. Let me I'm gonna try and get a meat. Oh, here's one. Here's a piece of meat. Oh yeah. You guys, this is gonna be so good. So good. I'm excited for this. Okay. We're gonna let this simmer for a little bit until everyone comes. I have about 8 people coming, and I think this is gonna be plenty of soup and maybe even enough for some of these guys to take home if they want. So anyway. Okay, this is my beef barley soup. Look at that. Oh man, it looks so good. Okay, as I said, this is a lot because I'm serving a lot of people. Once I write up the recipe for this, I'm gonna write it up as if you're doing like 4 to 6 people maybe. So 1.5 pounds, maybe 2 pounds of chuck roast will be definitely plenty. 4 cups of broth will probably be enough. 1.5 cups of barley, probably definitely enough. So yeah, anyway, it looks good. Well, hi, I'm back in my little kitchen because even though I made the beef barley soup for soup night and with the few people that Chris and I had over, I forgot to put an ending to the recipe. So I have some beef barley soup left over, and I want to let you know I love it. It is rich. It's different than stew or other beef. That nice chewy barley. The soup was fantastic, and I'm so happy that everyone enjoyed it. So anyway, here it is. It is so good, full of flavor, very rich, very comforting. So check out this beef barley soup over at Amy Roloff's Little Kitchen, or check out my YouTube channel, Amy Roloff's Little Kitchen too. So anyway, give it a try. Let me know what you think. So thanks for joining me in my little kitchen.